What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Jump to Start Racing program. My name is Wellington. Yeah, I'm here with two of my closest friends for now. Ruben, say hello.
What's going on, guys?
Yhancy.
Hi.
Hi.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing the Hungarian GP. Before you guys even get started with the BS. Already.
Hi.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing the Hungarian Grand Prix
Yes, sir.
and the kind of the mayhem that followed. Not followed, but within the race weekend. But
Kind of the mayhem?
kind of. A little bit.
Understatement of the year.
Guys, how was your weekend? Ruben, how was your weekend, dude?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. I worked Saturday, which everybody hates to work, but I had to work Saturday. But Sunday made up for it.
Okay.
I'm glad I woke up early to go to the bar and see the race. It was that more exciting with so much people around you.
Especially
Watching-
me.
Especially you, of course.
We were holding hands at some point.
Nah.
How cute.
Yancy, how was your weekend?
Yancy didn't wake up.
No.
No. I did wake up.
My
but
bad.
Not early. I woke up just in time to watch the race. And thank God I woke up to watch the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great. Obviously, we work Saturdays, but on Sunday, obviously, we saw the race, and then we got together for a barbecue.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention that.
Yeah. So
Shout out, Danny.
shout out Danny. Yeah. His goodbye barbecue. He's leaving us. We'll miss him.
Yeah. On that note, before we jump into it, I want to make sure I mention at Jump to Start F1 on Twitter and Instagram, across many podcast platforms and on YouTube. Jump to Start Racing Podcast on YouTube. Jump to Start Racing Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Right?
I think that the scrutiny that we used to put him through has made him a better
A machine.
Sometimes
Dude,
like
he's
almost
just-
spotless.
boom. Like he's
Like whatever he missed, we don't even catch it anymore.
Yeah, no, he's doing well. Good job, Wells.
Woo-hoo. Anyway, on that note, let's jump into it.
Gentlemen, a short view back to the past.
Wow. 30 years ago, Nicky Lara said, potato monkey, put him in the...
Whoa, almost.
No, I'm kidding. I actually just have it right here in front of me. Guys, what a race weekend we had. What a race day we had. Let's put it that way, right? Let's start with the discussion of basically what's not dominating the news, but kind of dominated the weekend. The lap 1 incident right at the start of the race. It was
Just made everything better.
Yes.
what made everything better. I think Yancy always says it. Once it starts to rain and it gets a little bit less predictable.
What did I text you guys? I said rain and hands clapping emoji because once it rains and you add a little bit of chaos to a race, it
So yeah, like
just
when I'm driving to the bar, obviously I'm not even watching the show before the start and stuff. So I walk into the bar and see people with umbrellas. Like, wait a minute, the race just completely changed.
what up?
When I walked into the bar and I started looking at the screens and I see everybody with
I
umbrellas.
thought you meant like you saw people going into the bar with umbrellas. I'm
No,
like, you
no,
know
no, I'm
that,
talking about the screens.
the race wasn't in New York.
The sprinklers
Yeah,
were going
I
on.
know. I know. I know that much. So when I saw everybody with umbrellas, the news people and stuff like that, I'm like, oh man, so the race just totally changed. And that the race had not begun. It's just pretty much a couple of interviews they were doing and stuff like that. It's like, okay,
Yep.
it's a totally different race now.
And the fact that they didn't expect the rain was one. Two, it didn't rain enough to wash out all the rubber, so that rubber is super slippery. And they didn't get a chance to even run like in those conditions for the first 3 practices, meaning that the drivers didn't know, where to brake or how to handle it. It just, it was a recipe for a disaster and
Awesomeness.
a great race.
Yeah. We've all seen it now, all the highlights, slow-mo, etc. Right at the start of the race, Valtteri Bottas, what a terrible start, as he's known to do, especially in the rain. He can't get it done. He's overtaken right away by Lando
Everybody.
Norris. Yeah, Lando Norris and Sergio Perez. Max was already ahead of him. Couldn't slow down. Picks up or collects when he tries to break into turn 1. It's almost like he got caught off guard, but he tries to pick up.
He did get caught off guard.
Yeah, I guess with Lando in front of him, he just didn't expect
Yeah,
it.
because he had Lando on his right, and he had
in front of him.
in front of him. Yeah, but Lando coming on his right in front of him, and then you have Perez, and they kind of like sandwiched him in. So he had to brake at first.
Ruben looks a little like, what?
Yeah. And then I guess he misjudged where he was supposed to brake, and it was, who was in front of him at that?
Lando.
It was Lando, and he just braked too late and just went right into him. It was almost like Nico Hulkenberg at Spa when he went into to Alonso and then catapulted him over Leclerc. Remember that? It was kind of like that, where they just completely missed the braking point. Obviously, it's raining, so it's slippery. And
At that point.
yeah, and then it was a bowling match. It was just pin. I mean, the Bottas was the bowling ball, and the pins were the rest of the cars that were in front of him.
Jeez.
So Bottas slams into the back of Lando Norris, who also Bottas slammed into Perez too.
Yes.
Like on the recovery from the initial collision.
Mm-hmm.
Lando Norris then also picks up Max Verstappen, who was trying to make the turn in turn one, basically going wide. Hits Max Verstappen on the side, kind of like wrecks his right side barge board.
Mm-hmm.
Completely.
On the floor too.
On the floor.
It looked like a half-eaten cookie.
With a bunch of tape. With a bunch of
that's
aluminum foil.
exactly what that car looked like after that.
In the same turn, Stroll, trying to avoid the mayhem, tries to fly to the inside, misses the mark completely.
Goes on the grass.
Goes on the grass, which is where you never want to be when it's wet.
Yeah.
Picks up Leclerc and also hits Daniel Ricciardo, who gets he hits Ricciardo, who gets damaged but continues the race.
Yes.
Yeah. He spun. Daniel Ricciardo spun.
So with that said, I just want to recap who's out. Bottas. Bottas is out.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a top 4 finisher, right? Usually. Leclerc's out. Usually a top 6 finisher. Stroll is out. Whatever. Okay. Perez is out, who you consider a top 6 finisher. Norris is out, who's top 5 in almost
Every race
except for one, and this is the second one. And that's where we stand after turn 1, right?
On the first lap.
On the first lap after turn.
Gonna be good.
What did you guys think of the incidents? Well, I guess we'll collect them. Incidents themselves.
I think it was a product of what I mentioned before. It's wet. They haven't ran in the wet. It didn't rain that much to wash away the rubbered in track. So obviously that water is just sitting on top of all that rubber, so it's more slippery. The fact that they couldn't run, so they don't know where obviously the braking points are going to change because you want to brake a little bit earlier. Something was going to happen. We just don't see it usually at the front, because when you're running the front, I think, and Lando was mentioning that, you would expect a different caliber of racing when you're running at the front because you're running at the front. Yeah, he said that. He was pissed.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was pissed. So, but you would expect something like that, in the midfield or towards the back where all the cars are more bunched up. You wouldn't expect it in the front. So the fact that it happened in the front, obviously, which made it for a better race because we got to see the result that we got. You get a ton of the front runners just out of the race.
Right.
And it made for, especially in a track that you can't overtake, it made for a very fun race.
Right. So it took out those 4 cars. And then also Max severely compromised and Daniel Ricciardo severely compromised. So like the normal top 10 almost is.
Yeah. I mean, you had all of Red Bull out basically, half of Mercedes, half of Ferrari.
Yep. And all of McLaren.
And all of McLaren basically compromised there. Those are the top 4 teams completely compromised.
Ruben, what were your thoughts, brother?
I don't know. I think, obviously, both of this say, it looked like everybody braked a little earlier than they were supposed to. But pay attention, dude.
It's rain,
I know,
dude.
all right, pay attention, dude. So by the time he realized he actually did not brake, he just slammed on the brakes. And he just locked the tires. That at that point you can't go nowhere. So
and you're locking up the tires on a track that's super slippery.
That's what I'm saying. Now you're skating. Yeah. Now you're in an ice skating ring, and that's what it looked like. It looked like okay, I can't control anymore.
It kind of looked like you remember in Germany, it was Hockenheim where they were
19.
Yeah, where everybody went off on it was a drag strip.
Oh my God!
And everybody went off on that corner.
Hulkenberg had a chance to win.
Leclerc went off. Hulkenberg went off. Like a whole bunch of people went off. It looked similar to that. It wasn't as bad as that though. That was crazy.
So then on the Stroll side of it, dude, if you're gonna cut the corner, cut the corner, my man.
Just cut it, right?
Yeah.
Don't try and then
Don't try just go
just
half of it
cut
or whatever. Yeah, just cut the whole corner.
I think
and
at
if you're
that
gonna
point-
get a penalty, you're gonna get a few
He
spots
wouldn't have
back.
got a penalty. He was avoiding the
Because
accident.
Exactly. So it would have been tough to penalize him heavily with anything.
Yeah, just
Racing incident or whatever, avoiding the accident.
I didn't
But
think of that.
he tried
I mean,
half cut it, and that's when he
yeah.
ended up on top of Leclerc.
Yeah, but at that point, you can get away with that if you're cutting the corner. Like you said, you can get away with it because you're avoiding the mayhem that is in front.
just cut the whole
and
corner.
all he did was just create more mayhem on top.
And that's where it opened up the door for Ocon and Vettel, which is right
Well, is what we mentioned earlier before we started recording. Those who got a bad start actually came off better than those
Yes.
that got a good start.
So I mean, to
Except
me,
for Bottas.
yeah,
there. He had a horrible start. It's true.
dude, yeah. So yeah,
Gentlemen, a short view
press
back
the wrong
to
button.
the past.
Hold on, let's do that again. Yeah.
That's
So
exactly what he said to everybody.
yeah, exactly. So
Especially
I'm
the
gonna put on my conspiracy theory hat. He had a bad start and was just like, you know what? The best thing I could do for my team is just wipe everybody out. I don't know.
You
No?
think he did that on purpose?
No, of
Bro,
course
come
not.
on, man. Yo, listen, if he did that on purpose, that means he has great car control, and Mercedes is showing him right now for next year.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so crazy, the fact that
Poor Bottas.
yeah,
Get out of here. That's an amateur move, dude.
it is an amateur move. But
Okay.
listen, it's stuff that happens, obviously, especially in those conditions. It's just that I was just amazed that he took out both Red Bull drivers, your main rival. What a coincidence that is. And you know that Christian Horner was fuming after
Still.
that accident. Still. I mean,
Still,
he
at
had
the cops.
he had smoke coming out of his ears at the beginning of the race, and that turned into fire right after that accident.
Imagine Toto, hey Horner, can I have a word? I don't know you.
Dude, well,
It was
I'll tell
something
you
like
what. Here's what happened after the race. They were interviewing Toto Wolff, and obviously he was apologizing for that situation because it was his driver. And then Horner was supposed to come up next, and he went up to Christian Horner after the interview was over to apologize. Horner said something to him. I don't know, but nobody knows what was said. But what he said what Toto Wolff after that said to Horner was like, "Can you at least be friendly? Be friendly." I guess. I mean, obviously, there's some bad blood there. I don't know, and I think everyone who's the one that is initiating that is Christian Horner.
The troll king.
Yeah, for real.
The soap opera continues.
Yes,
So
it just makes it better for us.
Yep.
do you
Can't wait for it.
expect?
Try to survive.
I'm gonna be 100% upfront, right? I see that move or lack of awareness from Bottas. I never expect that from Hamilton. I don't expect that from Max or Sergio. I don't expect that from Lando Norris at this point. Who else up front would have done that move or lack of move, would not have broken,
Up front, nobody.
right?
But
But if it was somebody else, you would be like, oh yeah, I would expect Bottas to do something like that.
no, but I mean the thing. I think that a lot of these drivers have had incidents like that. Maybe not at the moment. I can't think of anything specifically, but these are things that happen. And it's just the same way. Like we think Lewis Hamilton. Well, I don't know about you, Wells. I think Lewis Hamilton is probably one of the cleanest racers, clean racecraft, and
How could I ever deny that?
yeah, but he caused the accident last week for Max, because he slipped up because he understeered into him. Leclerc has had his moments. Max has definitely had his moments.
The
You
rain,
know,
the rain is tricky.
It happens, and then especially when you introduce rainy condition or wet conditions, it happens. Not that it excuses him, because obviously you should know better, but these
I think
things
maybe
happen.
because
Remember, you're driving an F1 car at that speed in rainy conditions is very tricky. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Ruben.
No, I think most drivers have had like an incident. It might not be as as severe as Bottas had this weekend, but they have had rain incidents. For example, a while back, I think I don't know the year exactly. But I remember Hamilton in China trying to come into the pits, and he went. I think he went off or he crashed because he couldn't stop. So you know,
I don't remember that, but
yeah, it was like every driver has had an incident.
oh well,
like
you
that,
see, Seb was a 4-time world champion spinning.
exactly.
Like it happens, unfortunately.
The
Even though
the Spinderella
Seb,
days.
I think, was doing it a little bit too much. But it
Spinderella.
happens. It happens.
So, in a rare instance of, well, before I get there, Stroll's just a knucklehead. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I get it, but
He doesn't make the best decisions,
no.
and it happens too often.
You sound like my parents.
I don't know what's wrong with this kid.
No,
And I
but
talk to him and
yeah.
I talk to him, and he just doesn't get through to his head.
Push Stroll.
Poor Stroll. Yeah, good choice of words there. So, in a rare, as a result of the mayhem on the first lap, in a rare turn of events, never really happens. The FIA handed out 2 5-place grid penalties, 1 to Bottas, 1 to Stroll.
Yes.
Justified, or should it just have fallen under the first lap racing incident?
No, this one's
Stipulation.
justified.
Why?
Because you took out like 5 or 6 cars. You know, you messed up the race for I don't know how many people. And when it's an accident like that where you have the car, one thing is like if you're fighting and going into a corner, the other thing is when you hit them directly, you know, keep going basically. Like, so what happens is that
No, it's a T-bone.
no, not even a T-bone, because it was a direct. It's like when we're driving a regular car. Anybody who hits us from behind is automatically at fault. That's just the way it goes because you're controlling the brakes. You're controlling yourself. You have the option to either to brake or keep going or swerving or go another direction. The car doesn't control. The car ahead doesn't control that. So when you misjudge your braking point, go into the back of another car, and then on top of that, take out 5 or 6 more cars. And the same thing happened with Stroll. He like you said, cut the corner. It's pretty obvious what you do at that point, especially if you're in grass. No, he decided to veer back on the track, hit Leclerc, and then Leclerc went into 5 other 6 cars. I think that yes, that's justified, especially knowing that the conditions are slippery, it's raining, and stuff like that. It's more dangerous.
No, I don't think it was. I don't know. I don't agree with it. So, because I would agree if it would have, to me, would justify if both of these drivers would have kept on with the race, but they also came out of the race. They were all, so they went into this race to take themselves out. No, it's just a lap 1 incident because of the weather. It's super slippery, just like you said earlier. So I don't see it.
So what do you think they should have gotten, or both of you? I asked you that question.
Well, I mean, to me, I'll be honest with you, I see both sides, right? To me, if I'm Toto Wolff, Christian Horner, whoever, no problem. I'll send my second driver to just dive bomb whoever. I'll take five grid places. If that's the result, okay, no problem. I'll take it every time
That's
to
the
win
cause? Okay.
the drivers' championship. No problem. But aside from that, right? Obviously, whatever.
That's a bit exaggerated, but
No, but that's what it lands on.
In Formula One, haven't been people stretching the rules.
yeah.
All the time, and I would be the one to be like, okay, go do your thing, driver number 2. But on the flip side of that, right, I don't believe that they should have gotten penalties, and the reason for that is that we've seen the stewards and the stewarding be consistent across multiple races and consistent. Finally, this season it's been very, very consistent, I could say.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we disagree in some cases, it's been consistent. Granted, this is now a cross season. In 2020 at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc went up on his own teammates, almost the same style of turn at the start of the Austria track, Red Bull Ring. Hit his teammate. What was the result? Granted, he hit his own teammate and took him out. What was the result? No issue. There was no penalty, no nothing.
He didn't get anything?
Nothing. And it was dry.
Yeah.
So you have a greater control of your car. There's less of a margin for error. Is that, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. The chance of creating it or making a error is lessened because you don't have to deal with the weather conditions.
Right.
They didn't give Leclerc a penalty, but they're giving Bottas and Lance Stroll penalties for trying to deal with the rain, trying to avoid the crash, etc. in the first lap, which historically they don't assign any kind of penalties in the first lap.
Mm-hmm.
So I see
Plus,
both
you got to
sides.
remember also, it was not raining all weekend. It just happened to rain yesterday morning.
Right, so they should be
For
a little more
that-
lenient.
Yes.
For that hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that, whatever.
Half an hour,
half
before
hour,
the
45
race,
minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, like at the end of it, to me, I think that the race should have just no penalty. Granted, it's for next race. No penalty, just whatever. Let it
going.
go because it's a first lap incident. The conditions were really crappy. Bottas
At
sucks.
that moment.
Yeah.
Bottas sucks. It's Stroll
Stroll
even more.
sucks. Yeah, Stroll sucks even more, and then we just kind of move on from there. I don't know. Did I convince you?
No.
Of course not. I always present like all this stuff, and then Yhancy's like, "Oh no, I'll go with my gut."
I'm taking after Ruben.
Yeah. Oh man. So aside from the penalties and what happened during the race, there's also a cost cap implication because now we talked last week about the $1.8 million cost of the crash with Max Verstappen at Copse in Silverstone, right? Now we are dealing with another incident. Obviously, not so bad for Max and Red Bull in this particular race, but just a collective damage to both cars and continuing not just the Red Bull team, but all teams that were affected this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yancy, what do you think?
But mostly Red Bull because of last weekend and this weekend.
Well,
Yeah.
all right, here's the situation, especially with Red Bull. Red Bull, remember, on the build-up to this weekend, we were worried or we were interested in knowing if that engine for Max survived the crash. They were able to use it. So when they tried to use it, they ran it, they said it was good. Right before the race, they had to change it because it wasn't good. So now, obviously, he ran it. He didn't get a penalty now, but if that's his third engine already. If he uses another engine for the
get
rest of the
grid
year, he's gonna get a 10 pace. Or I don't know if it's
Whatever
10
it is.
pace, but he's gonna get a grid penalty. So that's one issue. Now you're running into the fact that for the second weekend in a row, not only one of your cars is destroyed, which is Max's car, but the second one is destroyed as well, which is Perez's car. It is, I think it's unfair at that point, especially now that we have Red Bull, which is definitely in a title fight with Mercedes, and and we can safely say, I think, that it's gonna be very close until the end of the year. Right now, and Christian Horner said this at the end of the race, they're potentially losing the chance to win a championship because they're not gonna have enough funds to fund it to the end of the year.
Meaning on the budget.
And none of these crashes were their fault. None of their drivers were at fault in any of them. Obviously, Lewis was
Declare at fault.
cleared at fault, or most of the fault, I would say. And then this one, obviously, it was Mercedes. It was a Mercedes driver, Bottas, which caused the entire collision. So yeah, you can see, especially when you're limited to your funds. It's not like before where you can throw all the money at it, and you take it as a loss. But at least you're still challenging yourselves. Once you cannot throw money at that because you obviously have the budgetary limitations, it can hurt you, and especially if you're fighting for the championship. So, yeah, it is a problem, and I think it's one of these things where, obviously, when they introduce these rules, there's going to have to be some tweaking, just the same way they're going to have to do some tweaking with the sprint race rules. This is an area where they're going to have to make some exceptions because I personally don't think it's fair, and I'm agreeing with not only Christian Horner, but Mattia Bonotto brought this up because obviously his car, one of Leclerc's car was run into, and now they got to pay for that. There should be some kind of exception or some kind of tweaking to the rules where, and they call this radical, where the driver deemed at fault, that team should be responsible for paying the damage to either their car, obviously, but the other team's car.
Sounds like Geico. right?
Yeah,
So
Better,
kind
better call Paul.
Yeah,
They're going to be doing insurance jobs.
Seguro
now.
man.
They're going to be doing insurance jobs now.
So
Yeah.
let's put it this way, right? Max Verstappen cops the $1.8 million crash, right?
Mm-hmm.
This weekend had a ton of barge board damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baku, the Pirelli tire explosion wrecked
their
that car
fault.
completely.
Yes.
So this is 3 accidents, not at his fault. It's like, okay, what are we really doing here? Perez obviously had the issue this week, and I don't think he's had any other issues aside from his car turning off in race 1.
Yeah, but he hasn't had any
serious crash.
serious damage. No.
Yeah.
Nothing like what Max has had this.
Hamilton hasn't had any, to my recollection.
Nothing. No.
He drove off the track
Yeah.
at Baku. 'Cause his brakes were messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bottas has had a lot of issues, actually. He had the monocle thing with the pit stop that never ended. And then,
Yeah, but that didn't destroy the car.
right.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing. I don't know. I would hate to see that because of a lack of funds, this championship is essentially just handed to Mercedes.
Yeah.
I think changes will be made if it gets to that point. Believe it or not.
But I think changes are gonna have to be made this
Like,
season. They
like-
can't wait
Till the funds run out.
till the funds run out,
release
or they
money.
can't wait till the end of the
Right.
season to tweak it. They need to do something now.
Yeah.
Because obviously what you're having is that you are basically putting a good championship fight, which we've all been waiting for a very long time, at jeopardy because there's damage caused to one of the championship running teams. That is definitely not their fault. Because if it's is their fault, that's another issue.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's not their fault, and imagine if none of this stuff happens, how far ahead Red Bull would be at this point in the championship too.
Well, our good friend Wellington has always said, all it takes is one DNF and they're back on. He's been saying that for weeks.
Well, it's 2 now.
Yep.
Mercedes is back on top.
Maybe the exception should be that,
And
in an accident, that's not included in your budget. But obviously it's F1, so everything like you said earlier, he's going to get...
I think an accident should be included in your budget. I think that there's got to be some type of ramifications for that. But
there has to be some exceptions made.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what is going to happen now. How can they handle it where you're not causing a fight between the teams and the courts and the appeals court and who's at
how are you
fault?
ever gonna properly
and
hand that out?
then we criticize obviously with good reason how the stewards assign fault to these accidents, and is it going to be consistent? And it's just going to be
If we get penalties, if he's going to get a flag.
Yeah, it's just the same way you and me disagree on if a 5-place grid penalty or a 10-second penalty is enough. That's probably going to happen even worse. And we saw what happened after Silverstone, where it was just
A cat fight.
it was a rare. It was a cat fight between. And I think Red Bull went too far with what they did, but whatever. But that's the kind of stuff that you get behind the scenes over there. So imagine if you take it to courts, if you take it to a court of appeal,
Can you imagine the
what
court
a
procedures
mess.
costs come out of your
bro.
budget cap too?
Well, look at the drama that happened last year with Aston Martin and Renault, and all the teams got involved, and it was just like a big drama for nothing, really.
Part of the soap opera.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
I mean, you're right though. It's got to be decided now because Red Bull's going to play it more conservative because they just don't have the money per the cost cap. So, right. So we've seen them develop the car to the point where like it becomes like the Voltron of cars later on in the season, right? It just gets all the lines together.
Yeah. All the I wish I could remember the stuff they used to say.
Oh my God, form blazing sword, right?
Oh,
No, but like they're gonna need the money now because now they're trailing. Now they don't have a comfortable lead, and guess what? Spa is
they don't have the lead at all.
they don't. Right, you're right. Spa is gonna be, for my money, it's gonna be a heavy Mercedes track, and then guess what? Monza's right after that. So you don't have those sections those sectors where Red Bull will be able to catch up.
And it seems like the Mercedes
Or Red Bull
car,
will definitely blow an engine in this
the
two tracks.
upgrade, the last upgrades that Mercedes did bring actually brought them a lot closer to Red Bull. So, like I said, I don't listen. We said it before.
No, they're definitely going to take grip penalties.
This is
year.
not
Red Bull
over
for the
yet.
engine.
Oh,
This is not over yet. I just didn't think it was gonna make this big of a swing.
did it really bring him closer to Red Bull? You think? I feel like this is a unique track, and this is in two ways. You don't get to really see the potential of some of these cars, and then Lewis Hamilton is just so good on this track.
Yeah, but also, what you have to realize too is that the last two, I'm gonna say qualifying sessions, because obviously we had the sprint qualifying, but the last two qualifying sessions where you had proper qualifying, Mercedes was able to get pole on both of those with Lewis Hamilton. And obviously, I think it's going to come down to who gets ahead first in each race, because once you're in clear air, your car runs well. And we saw how difficult it is to follow with these cars, especially at this track. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a good fight. It's just, it would suck. Going back to the budget, it would suck that that it's compromised because of monetary concerns.
Yeah. So, restart the podcast, restart the race. The race was red flagged after that because they had to pick up just a ton of debris.
Whoa, we're still like on the first lap.
Yeah, we're still on the first lap.
Yeah,
on
we
the
haven't
first
even-
turn.
The first turn.
We haven't even got to the good part.
Yeah. So from there, obviously, whatever, race red flagged. Everybody pulls into the pits and comes back out. They do a formation lap coming out of the pits to be able to get to the starting grid. So I got to be upfront because at the start of the broadcast, I could have sworn Crofty or Brundle, one of them said, "Oh yeah, it's going to be raining for 25 minutes and then it should dry up."
Yeah, 30 minutes to try out.
Right? I didn't make that up, right?
Yes.
These freaking guys, after the red flag, nobody goes on the intermediate on slicks. Everybody's on intermediates, but they do the formation lap. Everybody on intermediates.
And they can change their tires during the red flag session.
Yes.
Hamilton.
And just for the timing, it took like 20 minutes for the race.
Yeah, something. So nobody even took a look at how the track looked on the screens or anything like that.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yes.
What the races left like, and they look at different angles of the
Well,
track?
I don't know. But anyway, after the
No, I don't
formation
think
lap.
they can. I mean, obviously, you're not going to, unless they send the medical car out there to see. But usually they just send the medical car if it's raining a lot to see if the track conditions are good to restart the race. So then, I mean, they wouldn't know. The only thing that they would know is maybe like the radar, but like the cloud.
Yeah.
All it shows is the cloud. It doesn't show if it's raining. I think. I don't know.
iCloud.
iCloud. Plenty of pictures.
I'm not a meteorologist, so I wouldn't know.
So
Yhancy on the black screen. It's right here.
Yeah, yeah.
All the rain. And the big cloud comes over the
The
jump.
big
start
clown
logo.
goes over. Yeah.
over the ticket. All right. So after the formation lap, at the restart, only Lewis Hamilton stays out and stays on the intermediates. Everybody else pits to go on slicks. Yeah, I'm still like really confused about this whole thing.
No, but I like what was said to me at the bar. Like, I'm pretty sure Ocon was told, do opposite to Hamilton.
Do opposite of Hamilton for sure, because you're trying to get an
For sure.
advantage on. Yeah, for sure. Like Nico Rosberg, trying to get an advantage on. Whatever the guy in front of you is doing. Anyway,
This was a crazier restart than the USGP in Indianapolis. It was only
Yep.
was 6 cars started.
yeah, everyone pitted, right? George Russell. Can you go through this whole George Russell thing? Because I'm
Go
still
ahead, yeah.
like,
Your English is better than mine. Go ahead. Yeah.
it's not very good looking. Your English.
Yeah.
Right?
So, all right. So, obviously, after the formation lap, you have the option to either start on the grid or you start in the pits. They do the formation lap. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton is leading the way. So, he's the first one. But they're seeing that the track is dry. So, what happens is, like, if you run either the wet tire or the intermediate tire, if there's no rain, those wear out super quick, and you're just going to be slow off the bat because you have very, very little grip. So Hamilton stays out. He doesn't come in. And everybody else comes in. So at that point, when you pull in,
Like a railroad train.
when you pull into the pits, first in, first out, right? So anybody who comes in on this, and what happened here was Ocon came in first. He was the first to pit. Everybody else pitted behind him. You do your regular pit
So
stop.
he was able to get out of his
Yeah,
pit box
right.
quick enough to be in the
The
front.
order that you come out of the pit box is the order that's gonna, start the race at that red light. That's the cue. So Williams' garage is at the end. So obviously, they're starting on the back of the grid. They pull into their pit boxes. You have a fast lane and a slow lane, and then you have where the pit boxes are. So everybody's queued up on the fast lane. Williams is at the end. By the time the Russell comes out, there's already 5 or 6 cars queued up, so he can't get into the fast lane where all the cars are lined up. So he goes into the slow lane, but he didn't know whether he should wait or not. So he just took a chance. He said, I'm just gonna go ahead of everybody. So what he did was line up right next to Ocon, and when the light hit green, he just pulled up ahead and went first.
So at that point, I'm thinking he's, P2.
So Lewis Hamilton, obviously all the lights go off. Lewis Hamilton restarts. After, I don't know, a certain amount of time, they turn the light green on the
pretty
pit.
much after Lewis passes, they could go.
Yeah, after Lewis passes.
Because he's the only one on the actual grid.
Yeah, Lewis passes. They turn on they flip the
green.
light green, and everybody else who's in the pits, in the queue, comes out in that order.
Pretty much the way it goes when you're either reprimanded or your car, something happens when you're starting from the pit.
Yes.
It's after every car passes, you go.
Right. And like I said, first in, first out. So boom. But
Russell
jumped everyone. So at that point, the race is starting. Russell's ahead. We're like, oh my God, George Russell's in second. And then he starts dropping back. I thought it was a
something wrong with
puncture.
him. Yeah. Not
At
that
that
wrong with him.
point, yeah. But as we found out after the race, the FIA, and he thanked the FIA for not just giving him like a drive-through penalty or whatever. He said, listen, you were behind so-and-so car. Just make sure that you give those places back and we won't penalize you. And that's exactly what happened. That's why he was running, 8 or 9 in the race, most of the race. So that's what happened at the start. But at that restart, the only car on the grid
Was Lewis Hamilton.
That was a cool shot.
Yeah. He was lonely. He looked like Pablo Escobar in the pool.
No, when I saw it, I was like, but to me, it makes sense at that moment for him to start from the grid. Because his pit box is the first one. So once he went in, he will be all the way in the back too, because he will pull in first, change the tires. Now you got to wait for everybody to pass to have a clear space to get out, because then it will be an unsafe release. So he will still lose a bunch of places. My opinion at that moment was, hey, just do one lap and come in. Now the pits is cleared, you'll be in and out. But now you're not starting from the pits.
Right.
So I think if he would have pulled in just like everybody did, it would have been better off for him as far as the race goes. Because
I mean, we can all agree that it was a mistake by Mercedes, but can you blame him for making that mistake?
it was just on the go thing. I don't think it's something like, you could point fingers now that it happened, but it's tough to like really,
especially if you're the lead car.
exactly.
What
So
do you
no,
think?
but if you look at the train that was coming in, there was a space between some of the cars. So I think he would have been able to switch tires and jump on that space, and he would have probably also, overshot Ocon. But it was done on the fly, so it's tough to even,
Yeah, and if
you're thinking something was.
what do you?
No,
think
I mean-
about the whole situation.
End of the day, to be honest, that probably cost him the win.
Yeah. One of the stuff though, because
But it was just so
Probably
bang bang.
the only car that survived the first lap mayhem. Top car.
in the front, yeah.
So I mean, it was just so bang bang. It's hard to really be like, oh, you guys messed up. But I don't know. Just like even in the broadcast. So if the broadcast is saying, oh, 30 minutes and then the rain is going to disappear, and then we had a red flag, we had like all that cleanup, all the debris is gone, the rain is gone. It's like, okay. So what I expected to see was a team take a gamble. Like, it was shocking to me that everybody came in on the intermediates. To me, right, if I'm in the back, we saw Antonio Giovinazzi, even before the race actually officially started, dive into the pits to go onto slicks. Why did he go back into intermediates? That was ridiculous.
Now that I'm looking at the chart with the tires,
Yeah.
it shows that he started on the mediums. Then on the red flag, he went on the
Switched
wets.
back. I don't know what he was
And
thinking.
then, well, no, it's,
It was a weird start. I mean, you can't either. Especially going back to Lewis Hamilton, if you pit and everybody else doesn't pit, then you're gonna be dead last, right? If you don't pit which obviously he didn't, and everybody else pit, you're still going to be dead last. So, which is exactly what happened. So and Toto Wolff even said it after the race. He said they made the right decision at the time. Because it's tough, especially if you're the lead car. You don't know what else everybody else is going to be doing behind you.
So they just learned a different way of how to maybe win in certain instances in this race. Meaning, it worked for Haas last year. Granted, they couldn't keep the place and all that other stuff. So, hey,
they lose it because they communicated it
yes,
the radio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It happened to a couple of cars this weekend too, as well, that they communicated over the radio. But meaning, take the gamble. Like this track shows that if you take that gamble, it works if it's done the right way. But it has to be done ahead of time, so there's no infractions in between.
Right, you talk about it ahead of time.
Exactly. Like, if this is happening, but nobody expected the rain. The rain was in the morning, so it's something that would have been done on the go as you go there too. Because remember, it was in the broadcast, and not just me putting time into things. In the broadcast, they were saying that it was half hour, but that was during the beginning of the race. So there's normally about 15 minutes there. Race starts, there's a crash. That took about 15 to 20 minutes. But nobody, like Wellington said, they just were announcing the rain was going to go away in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. 30 minutes have just passed. We're like up to like maybe 30, 35, 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. So with the way these tracks are designed, that water just went away, even without a car driving through it.
Right, and then it was hot.
But I think, what they also said, I remember the forecast was saying that it was going to rain for 30 minutes, it was going to get worse, and then it's just going to go away.
Gotcha.
So I don't know.
So the worst part of it was the beginning of the race, you could say, meaning on the rain aspect.
That's what that was. But they were expecting more rain afterward. That's why I think everybody went on an intermediates. But like you said, the timing was correctly. It was like if they're saying 25 minutes, half an hour, then why not just go?
Especially when Giovinazzi was already taking the gamble.
Yeah.
So like if it's me, right? If I am a team that I need to make up a lot of places because something happened, for example, and my car's not that great, for example, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, I would have put on the slicks, go crazy, see what you can make happen. But obviously it didn't happen because they needed to try and make up some of that. Mm-hmm. Whatever. So
made for a better race, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
At the man, that was good. That shot with Hamilton just on the grid by himself was just crazy.
That's gonna go down in history, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was gonna be trivia, like in 20 years when we're still doing this. What year or who was the driver? But
I'm gonna be what year was it? Like with the old people voice.
So coming out of that, the race leaders after the pits, after the George Russell dropping back, who was it? Ocon, Vettel, and Nick Latifi,
aka Hodor.
So why, Ruben? Can you please explain why he is now Hodor? You got to make a meme, by the way, of like exactly that scene of Latifi holding the door.
So pretty much, he was like the Iron Gate. He was holding everybody back.
Lord,
and if you watch Game of Thrones, there's a gentleman named Hodor. It was later on defined. It was hold the door.
Yeah,
Hodor. So he was holding everybody back. Hodor.
So Ocon and Vettel were the top two drivers, and they were kind of fighting their own fight, racing their own race. Behind them was Nicholas Latifi,
which was very good as well.
Their own race, yes. Behind them was Nicholas Latifi, who was he was
really racing in Monaco.
Yeah. He was. You
can't pass me.
In third for a large portion of the race, but what would happen is he was so much slower than Vettel and Ocon that he just held the whole field back, and it opened up like a 17-second lead or something like that for Ocon and Vettel,
because nobody can overtake.
Right. So and then behind them was Yuki Tsunoda, who probably in his head he's like, I don't want to crash. I have a good chance for points here. Mm-hmm. I've already crashed in other races. Sorry, I've already crashed. I think every episode I hit the mic stand.
We'll put a red flag right there so you can see it.
Yeah.
So Tsunoda just.
I know what I'm doing, guys.
So Tsunoda, go ahead.
No, so Tsunoda, probably didn't
I just want to get some points.
He didn't want to dive bomb. He didn't want to go crazy. I just want to get points.
Podium? No. I just want to get some points.
So it was just like you watch this monotony of Latifi third just dropping back slowly. And it's like we were at the bar, so I didn't want to scream. But I wanted to scream at the TV, just get the freak around him, figure it out. It just never happened. What do you guys think of what we saw from those three guys, Ocon, Vettel, and Latifi, in that position for some of the race?
I didn't think it was going to last. I thought it was a great story. I think it was going to be like the first half of the race they were ahead. Maybe after the pit, it wasn't going to really happen. But then before all the pit stops started, we saw the fastest car on the track, which was Lewis Hamilton at the end, struggling to even, which usually doesn't happen even if he's at the end, at the end of the grid, struggling to overtake those cars, which were clearly slower than him. He had no grip. He was complaining that he couldn't overtake them, that it was super hard to overtake. And we know that this track is hard to overtake.
There's no space.
Yeah, there's no space. They call it, Monaco without the walls. That's the, the quote unquote nickname for the Hungaroring.
But for a track of of displacement, of this nickname that the track has, since this track opened up in '86, it's always been super exciting racing, super interesting, super decisive. So it's
Yeah, I mean, it turns into more of a strategy race.
Yes.
We saw that once the pit stop started, that's when things like
started to shuffle around.
undercuts are more important, and choice of tire is more important and things like that. So that was ultimately what decided the outcome of the race. But I did not think that
It was on the finish.
Ocon or even Sebastian Vettel or those teams. Yeah, but then you had Latifi, who obviously you can't pass. So when you have that, those two guys can get away and race each other. And you have everybody else, fighting for position. It created for a great race. It was more overtaken than I thought it would be. But once you have that, I mean, that's what the rain causes. The chaos at the beginning, and then you get these crazy, orders of like what the drivers are that are usually not the front runners. And that's what happened for most of the race, really. But it was fun. Either way, it was fun. At least even like the attempted overtakes were fun to watch too.
So headed towards, that kind of encapsulates the top two guys, right? So we'll talk about the podium now.
Wait, can we also mention the race director that they sucked this weekend too?
Dude, he was so terrible.
Gotcha, okay.
Yo, I don't remember who Hamilton overtook, but they literally had it on the sidebar where it's like all the drivers. It was like the small picture, and they had like just a picture of like, oh, these guys just going.
I think it was the overtake.
When he overtook Alonso.
Yeah.
No. It was when he overtook Max and Ricardo. When he
no, it
wasn't that point.
No, they showed that.
They
on
showed
the
the
picture.
big. Okay.
Who was
I don't know. He just sucked. Like
He was just bad.
I didn't see. There was one overtake that should have been on the screen, and they were showing
Hamilton
somebody
was.
like in 10th or 11th place.
Yeah, just driving Miss Daisy, just chilling.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Sorry, go ahead.
the whole Latifi thing, holding the door, that kind of led to the top two finishers, Ocon and Vettel, running away with the field, and then just kind of really just cruising to the wins collectively, right? Ocon, what did we think of that drive in general?
Amazing, because he was able to hold back a 4-time world champion. He was fighting for most of the race for the lead. I mean, obviously there's difficulties in overtaking, but it's still tough, especially when Vettel's car was faster than him.
Just remember that point where when they were gonna he was in the process of overtaking a lap car. He was about to lap a car, and I think Vettel saw an opportunity there. If he didn't close the door quick on Vettel would have taken him the turn.
Yeah,
And that was on the process just over lapping a car.
So today you've already made hold the door and close the door. What's going to be next? I'm waiting.
Okay.
but you have to close the door first before you hold the door.
Yeah.
So, but
We have not been drinking, guys.
So you guys remember Monaco, Daniel Ricciardo, when he won with what basically his MG UK was gone, and Vettel was chasing him down.
19.
It was in 19.
Yeah.
It was. Obviously, I think Ricciardo's drive was better.
18.
Yeah, it was 18.
19 was already where we're on.
Yeah, I think Ricciardo's drive was better because he was nursing that issue with the engine. But just the fact that he was able to hold back a faster car behind him deserves a lot of credit, and that's exact. And Ocon did something similar. He was under attack basically the whole race from Sebastian Vettel, which a car that was actually faster than him, which everybody admits was faster than him on the track. It's just that obviously it's difficult to overtake, but as we saw with the battle with Alonso and Hamilton, which we'll talk about later, if you put the car in the right place, your driving does matter.
That's what I'm saying. So you would say that Ocon pretty much had it almost a flawless race.
Yeah, he didn't
'Cause
make a mistake.
If he would have made any mistake, he would have been gone.
Because obviously
I
when
think the
you,
only mistake was that the lap car incident.
listen, the key to a track, to a track that that is very difficult to overtake, or put it that way. The key for a driver who's behind you is obviously put enough pressure to the
Force a
point
mistake.
where you force a mistake. Vettel was doing that the entire race to Ocon. And Ocon didn't make the mistake. So credit to him. He definitely deserved the win. And he got his first F1 win, man. And we all love that. Like, every F1 fan loved that. If you didn't like that, you're just a hater, man.
There was people from Aston Martin.
Especially after what he's gone through. He drove exceptionally well alongside Perez with Force India, which was Force India at the time.
That's what I was going to say.
There was literally no spots for him on the grid, so he had to take a year off. He's come back. He struggled. He started off the year off well this season. He was getting back to his old form. I think he had a problem with the chassis, so they had to switch out his chassis. That's why his last two results have been awesome. Obviously, he won this race, but he was struggling for a bit. They switched out the chassis. It was a problem, so he's back to his old form. He's been driving exceptional. So he definitely deserved that win. There's no taking of that.
There was a lot of people happy for him. Even people from Aston Martin came out to cheer for him. Because obviously they know him because of the Force India day. So.
And even even Mercedes, I don't know if they tweeted it or put it on Instagram. I think they did both. Something to the effect, we knew you would do well, kid. Something like that with a little heart.
Even Hamilton said something.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, man, he definitely deserved that win. That was an awesome drive by him. He didn't make any mistakes. He drove exceptionally well. He held back a 4-time world champion.
For how many laps?
The whole race.
67?
The whole race. And Vettel was really like chomping on him. He was right there.
Yo, you know what Vettel told him on the podium?
What's that?
I cursed at you so much.
No, I pushed you so much.
Oh, it was that? I thought it was a curse.
No, I pushed you so
That's
much.
what you would do.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been cursing him out the whole time.
Not even just to us, too. Dame paciencia.
No, dejaron reír. Let me laugh, bro. Let me laugh.
Sebastian Vettel. What do we say about his? Actually, you agree with Yhancy. Didn't put a foot wrong. Ocon, did his thing.
Yeah, I mean, if Ocon would have given him a chance, Vettel would have eaten him alive.
Yeah.
Sebastian Vettel. What do we think about his race? Actually, before we get to his race, I do want to point out, I was talking about this with Ruben at the bar, like in person. Great job, Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
With the pride, the mask, the colors,
we don't have the
etc.
applause button.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, in Hungary, it is actually out. They introduced a new law that went into effect on July 1st that it is outlawed to promote LGBTQ plus pride, let's call it, propaganda, or the colors. Basically, it is against the law. For Sebastian Vettel, all weekend on everything that he had, the car, the helmet, the shoes,
The T-shirt.
Was he the only driver
mask.
doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For him to just
He's so heavily on it.
arrest me, like, I mean, I don't know if that was the case, but like he was just,
What if they would have arrested him?
dude, how crazy would? What kind of an international incident would that? That would have been an
That would have
uproar.
been,
It would have been an uproar.
Complete uproar, yeah.
That would have made for his point, right?
Imagine, exactly. That would have made the point. See how ridiculous this is? All I'm doing is wearing colors.
I'm wearing a rainbow.
I'm doing my job here,
I'm doing
bringing
it for my kids. Let's say for them.
bringing in notoriety, whatever, to Hungary, to Budapest, because I'm doing my job as the 4-time World Drivers Champion, and this is how you guys treat me. Hats off to him for pushing the envelope there, because That took a lot of balls.
Yeah.
At the beginning, that's why I thought it was the penalty he received.
That he got disqualified because of that.
Yeah.
That would have been nuts.
Tinfoil hat.
With the logo upside down.
Oh my god. Who's the Hungarian Prime Minister? Viktor Orban? Yeah, made the call.
Mm-hmm.
Get him out of there.
So that look, whatever. Vettel class act, like
Yeah, everything he's done. Even like, was it at Silverstone where he
Yes,
was
sir. Picking
picking
up
up
garbage.
garbage? I mean, the guy's.
there was somebody that proposed this weekend, and he went up, congratulated them. This guy is just the mayor of F1, right?
Yeah,
He's just
pretty much, man. The guy's a class
He's in
act.
charge of the unions too, right?
I think he's the
Yeah, he's one of the
the
reps,
shop
the one-
steward or
yeah.
whatever.
Good.
The shop steward.
Shop steward. What
Yeah,
knows
he's-
about that?
He's one of the driver reps for the
Oh, that was,
Business agent. Yeah.
Grand Prix
GDPA.
Yeah,
GPDA.
exactly.
GPDA, yeah, Grand Prix Drivers Association.
Yes. Anyway,
Too many letters. I forgot
Class
the
act.
GPDA, ABC, 1, 2, 3.
Vettel's race, terrible start, able to pick up, get to second place, fighting the whole time.
Drove just as good as Ocon.
Yeah.
The only thing is that he just couldn't
They're
get
better than
Yeah.
Ocon. It's a tough track.
I mean, these guys held their position. And, tough track to overtake, tricky conditions. They were able to build the gap, obviously, because they had the help of Nick Hodor Latifi.
Hold on.
But they didn't put a foot wrong. They both drove great. I think it was just the condition. It's just a tough track to overtake. He was faster than him, but obviously not that much faster. So he just couldn't overtake because the cars are very similar as far as speed. But it was just a phenomenal drive by both of them. I mean, if any one of them would have drove, would have gone first place. Obviously, Ocon did. Even if Vettel would have gone first place, he would have deserved the win. They didn't put a foot wrong. 10 out of 10. 5 out of 5 stars. Whatever you want to rate it. They drove awesome this week.
A plus
They made
plus.
for a great race.
Actually, I would say A star. How about that?
There you go. For all our British fans.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton. Phenomenal drive, right?
Yeah.
The none of that was really his fault of having to go to the back of the grid. Not the back of the grid, but as a result of the pit and the whole rain situation, intermediates to slicks.
Yeah, that was a team call at the end of the
Team
day.
call.
Mm-hmm.
Tough track to overtake. Fought his way back.
Yeah, I think what tire did he switch to once he pitted?
I'll tell you right now.
I think he was on the hards. So it went from medium to hards, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Medium to hards.
He went from
No, he went to inters to use
inters
mediums.
to use mediums.
To use mediums, okay. And then he went on the hards, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But his race really started after he pitted. He was able to undercut
After he pitted the second time.
That was when he did
the second time.
The
Well, yeah, I'm talking
the third
about
time will be now.
Yeah, I'm
First-
sorry.
the
I'm
second
just
time, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just the thing is that I'm not even counting like
The restart.
the restart.
Let's
But
go back. All right. So lap 2, he pitted, switched from intermediates to intermediates. Lap 4, he pitted from intermediates to used mediums. Lap 19, he pitted from used medium to
hard.
brand
to
new hard.
hards, yeah.
And that's where he was able to really just go crazy.
Right, because what happened, obviously the tires didn't have the level of grip that he wanted to overtake. Again, a tricky track to overtake. I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again, but we all know the situation. But once he was able to get, he got in front. Who was in front of him? It was Ricardo and
Max.
Max. No, it was Max and Ricardo. Once he got ahead of Max, those two, he wanted to just overtake Max. He just wanted to get ahead of Max because it was going to be tough to over. Even though Max was compromised, the cars are similarly matched, so it would have been tough to overtake him on the track. But I think once he overtook Max and he was able to get Ricardo, which was a plus, then he just, again, a track that's super hard to overtake, he was able to get up to eventually third place, which was crazy. I mean, this is, if you put Bottas in a similar position,
I'm dying to interrupt you on
he
that.
will
To say
not be able to do
he
that.
probably would have finished 12.
Yeah, Hamilton,
14.
once he got the right tires on, he was able to, and obviously, I think their strategy was to put him on the hards. Did he finish on the hards? Or no, he stopped again.
He stopped again to medium.
To medium. So
That's when
he was
also
able to
started.
push. I think they put it on the radio. Just go. No
Nico
limitations.
Rosberg
Just
specifically said, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's hammer time."
go. Yep. So he went on the hards. He just went, overtook everybody, and then the plan was to stop him again
to
the
end.
mediums to the end. So
To land on the end in the front.
So great. Not only a great race by him, obviously, because he was doing the driving, but also a great strategy call by Mercedes
Great adaptation.
to save. To salvage something of that race, especially when it was their fault on the call to put him on the.
So crazy. I jumped to Hamilton without talking about the Vettel disqualification. So so Sebastian Vettel.
It's kind of important.
Yeah. Sebastian Vettel was disqualified because he didn't have enough fuel for sampling at the end of the race. You're required to have 1 liter of fuel left over. He only had 0.3 liters left. It's a long-standing rule. It's just a thing. You break the rules, you got to pay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. Obviously, you're required to have at least 1 liter of fuel at the end of the race, just for testing, just to make sure that the fuel that they're using is correct. Obviously, you have things with emissions and stuff like that. So what they call is the fingerprint of the fuel is correct. That's what they read in the article. But out of that liter of fuel, the reason why they collect so much is that it goes to 3 different people. 1 part goes to the FIA, second part goes to a independent lab to verify the results. The third part, the team stays with it, and they have another small part to stay with it just in case it needs more testing if something erroneous is found in that fuel sample. Every team has to do this. There was an incident out with Sebastian Vettel in 2014, I believe, where I think after a qualifying session, he was disqualified because he didn't have enough liter of fuel. And the reason why, not every car is tested, so they pick it randomly. But if you stop on the track, for example, after a qualifying session, if you don't have enough, let's say if you're going to go below that 1 liter, what happened in that case, Red Bull made Vettel stop on the track, park the car, so they have enough, so they have a liter of fuel in the tank.
Didn't he do the same thing this race?
Well,
He stopped.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that in a minute. So what happens if so they changed the rules. They changed the rule after that. They tweaked it. They said during a practice session or a qualifying session, you need enough fuel to get back to the pits. For a race, you don't need it because they don't want to take, obviously like a race win or a result. Obviously, it's points. The points are won on Sunday. So you can stop the car. But what happens if you stop the car? You're gonna get you're gonna get scrutinized right away. They're gonna test you for that.
You're number 1 suspect.
You're a number 1 suspect because now because they don't want teams to obviously you can get an advantage if you're running less fuel during the race. You can be faster, so they don't want teams taking advantage of that. So once you stop, you're gonna get looked at. So I think it was it George Russell that stopped on track?
I'm not sure.
There was 3. I think there was 3 cars that stopped on track. It was Ocon, but that's because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. But he got
surprised.
He got tested. I think Latifi and Vettel, and there was probably another car there. But it doesn't matter. Obviously, if you stop on track, and this is the reason, you obviously have weight issues as well. That's why they tell all the cars to pick up the marbles to bring up the weight. But once you stop on the track, you're gonna get looked at. What happened here was, and this is the story that we're reading on Motorsport, Vettel obviously stopped on track. On the radio, they were telling him to stop the car but they didn't specify on the radio why, but it's already looking a little bit suspect. Like, what are you doing? Okay.
Like always happens.
Yeah. So there was
You're not on fire,
there was radio messages from the pit wall to Vettel to stop the car. Now the story once they brought the car to the FIA, they couldn't take out the fuel. Now the reason why what the Aston Martin camp is coming is that one of their I think they call it the lift pump, wasn't working. So that's why they had told them to stop the car on track. But if the lift pump ain't working, they can't extract the fuel. It's not in the tank.
Probably the fuel in the lines.
It's probably in the lines and stuff. Because that pump isn't working, they couldn't get the fuel out.
The right up, the measurement.
Yeah. And then obviously another issue that I was explaining to you earlier was that the people who usually deal with the FIA when it comes to scrutineering were already on a flight back to Silverstone where the team is based. So the only other person to deal with the FIA was Otmar Safnauer because his flight was on Monday. So he had to deal with that. So he didn't really know, he was on the phone or whatever. So the FIA thought they already given him enough time. They can't get the fuel. The only other option would be to impound the car and file an intent to appeal, which is what they did. So right now, and they're lucky because there's no race next week. If you impound the car, you can't get the race until the
car just look at it.
Yeah, until the appeal is filed or whatever. So they have the summer break. So the FIA impounded the car. Aston Martin filed an intent to appeal, and then they'll make a decision if they're going to do a full appeal. But their defense is going to be the line pumping. Where I think it's it's a pump that's not working. Once we get it working, we can go in there and pump the fuel out. You'll see that there's a liter of fuel there. So the car's untouched right now.
The fuel circulating pump is not working.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah, a lift pump. I don't know exactly what that is, but whatever. But that is the story behind the whole situation. So right now, the FIA has the car, and Aston Martin filed an intent to appeal to put an appeal together. With that process, and they're going to go to court, and
So coming from Aston Martin, Force India, they'll be called Days of Our Lives. The salt pepper continues, because they were fighting so much when they were Force India. Now they keep continuing. So
it's pretty crazy. I found that super surprising, especially after he drove such a great race.
The same article you're talking about, Omar, whatever his last name says, the way you say it. He did say the car has 1.44 liters in it, so it has well over a liter.
Yeah, because they know exactly. Obviously, the FIA knows how much gas was pumped into the car. They also know how much gas was used because they have fuel flow meters. Thank you, Ferrari, because they have even more. They have even more sensors on that.
Oh, whoa!
So obviously, the calculations are off. If you could only get 30% of what you're supposed to get, and they say you're supposed to get a liter. They say they have 1.44 liters in the car. So
they need to get the.
This is one of the appeals. I hope that the team wins, because you wouldn't want such a great drive from Sebastian Vettel to be tarnished because of that.
And it's actually, the disqualification would award Hamilton second place, which would give him 3 additional points in the Drivers' Championship fight. So it would be beneficial for all of us to have a tighter race if Aston Martin could win this appeal.
And I could be happy too if it didn't win it, because Carlos Sainz gets a podium. Hello.
Good drive by Carlos Sainz.
Yes, sir.
Even the interview he had at the end, that was also an awesome reaction too.
What? Which one?
When he was told that he's been called to a store, he's like, "Huh?"
I don't think it was awesome for him though, but he looked like a child that's being reprimanded.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And then tell him, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but yeah, you know the reason. Can somebody tell me the reason?
He's like,
and he shut like,
yeah, it was because of what I don't know what the reason.
Radio communication
that Will Buxton, he's like,
and walked away like.
He looks so defeated.
The little bit of.
Great drive, went from 4th to 3rd. So half of his podiums as a driver have now been awarded after the fact, right?
Yes, sir.
He's only been able to celebrate once?
Twice.
Monaco this year and Monza last year.
Dude, crazy.
Brazil, it was first podium for him, and it was after everything.
So
they were popping champagne by themselves.
That sounds like my weekends. Anyway, the Drivers' Championship standings. Lewis Hamilton now 195, Max Verstappen 187. what do we think going forward? So I talked about earlier how Spa to me is more of a Mercedes track. Monza to me is more of a Mercedes track. What, man, like
So what would you say, San Boris or whatever, Netherlands?
it's gonna be like a sea of orange. Number one, it's hard to tell. We haven't seen it in so long. It's hard to really tell who's gonna be, who's that's
Or
gonna
if
advantage.
Red Bull wins that,
Dude,
that track.
If Red Bull wins, it's gonna be crazy. Actually, you're right. It's Spa, Zandvoort, and Monza in a row.
I
So
don't know how Zandvoort looks like a
That's
track.
the one with the bank, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It looks like a track that that Red Bull will be very good at.
yeah. But what do we think championship wise? Now it's an 8-point lead for Lewis Hamilton. Too early to tell. Still 12 races left.
Too early to tell, but it's not over yet. Everybody thought it was over
Nobody
before
thought it was over.
Silverstone.
I think this is the time that Hamilton will say, "Catch me if you can," on the points,
They always get better after
the break.
the summer break.
This could go either way. This could be the usual Mercedes comeback story, run away with it after the summer break, and we'll all be crying because we didn't get the fight that we wanted, just like what happened in 2017 and 2018 with Ferrari and Mercedes. Or I believe that the Red Bull car is better by slightly than the Mercedes car. Engine's just as good. Aero is better. There's going to be a ton of tracks where it's going to suit Red Bull more. This ain't over yet. I think it's going to be a close fight. I don't know who's going to win, but I'd rather it be that way because that's what we want. We want a close title fight at the end, man.
I don't know.
Why don't you know?
I don't know. I'm a little discouraged because of what we just talked about. It's Spa, it's Monza. Shortly thereafter, it's Russia. So it's like, oh man, like, okay, are they going to be able to keep it together? Whatever. I expect at least one DNF on Red Bull's own fault. We're going to start seeing grid penalties like we talked about with the engines that they're going to have to replace.
And Mercedes never DNFs.
They're bulletproof. That kind of consistency wins the championship. So, all right. So we were talking about drivers, but we went on to both. But the standings for the constructors championship, Mercedes is now up 12 points, 303 to 291. I foresee Red Bull taking that championship because Bottas is just nowhere. Granted, we could probably say the same for Perez, but
Why do you say Bottas is nowhere? He's actually had a few good results the past few races.
He's had 3 retirements this year.
yeah.
But look, all right. Besides obviously the retirement, his last 5 races before that, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd. He's been doing his job.
So he picked up a 3rd when Max Verstappen retired. Okay. No problem. Picked up the 2nd in Austria. Okay, that's good. I don't know. For as consistent as, for example, Lewis Hamilton is, that's how, to me, inconsistent Valtteri Bottas is. So he picked up a good couple of results. That means to me he's going to pick up a bad couple of results coming up.
I think you have to look at it in a sense as far as the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, you have the race at the top. The Constructors' Championship is going to be determined by the battle between Bottas and Perez. And if you look at the results that Bottas has gotten compared to Perez, obviously he's up by 4 points. But I think Bottas has been the better driver this year. And I don't see, just because he retired, obviously he made a mistake. Bottas has made mistakes and bounced back. So
What if you factor in that Perez is in a new car and he's only going to get stronger as the year goes?
It's possible, but he hasn't shown it. I mean, he's obviously gotten stronger, but he hasn't shown it, at least in my eyes. He hasn't shown that he's gonna beat Bottas at the the end of the year. So, but I think that's where that battle is where the constructor titles is gonna be decided between Bottas and Perez. And right now, my gut feeling says that Bottas is better than Perez.
Okay.
Qualifying, yes.
And in the race, man, look at the results. I mean, obviously, all right, let's go through all the first 8 races. We have Bottas finished 3rd. He retired. 3rd, retired. 12th. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, and then retired. Sergio, 5, 11th, 4th, 5, 4. First place, he got that race win. 3rd, 4th, 6th, 16th, and then he retired. So, it looks to me that Bottas, obviously they've both been consistent.
And the only difference between the two of them is 4 points.
Yeah, they've both been consistent, but Valtteri has 5 podiums. Perez has 2.
And it's only 4 points in difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's in a new car.
Yeah. Listen, the way this year is going for Bottas, all the chips are against him.
I'm defending Bottas.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Like, all the chips are against him, and as the races keep progressing, more and more chips are against him. So right now, his confidence is shot.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that. Come on, how many? Do you know how many like high fives and hugs he probably got after this weekend? Yo, great job, great job wiping everybody out. Good job. Everybody loves him. Yeah, his confidence is sky high right now.
Dude has 3 retirements this season.
Yeah, one of them not his fault. That was the pit stop. Anyway, moving on.
Or the George Russell one, or in Imola.
That was when Russell hit him. Woof. Anyway,
Hasn't been that bad this year.
but I mean by that token, okay, Perez has the Bottas one where Bottas wiped him out. I don't know. Anyway,
3rd place in the driver's championship is still up for grabs.
Yeah, it is.
and that'll be, like you guys said, the constructors. Alpine in general, we talked about Ocon, the master, Fernando Alonso, the clinic that this man put on. All right, so I wanted to get it into like Photoshop it, but they had the AWS graphic where it said that Hamilton was gonna overtake him. Striking distance was however many laps, 2 laps, 3 laps. Overtake difficulty was like half of like the full bar. So do we want to extend it and like add another bar at the bottom for the overtake difficulty to like max it out and like put it like blood red? Because for him to be able to defend, what was it, 10 solid laps?
10 solid laps.
Against Lewis Hamilton on newer mediums versus Alonso's older hards.
On a slower car.
On a slower car was a Herculean effort.
That's why I was so excited when he came back. Because remember, the year before he retired, he was with McLaren, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Mexico, where I think there was an accident at the beginning where Hamilton dropped back to the back of the field and he was just coming through. And the only person
Driver to give him a fight.
to give him a fight in a McLaren, which the McLaren sucked at that time.
Oh, yeah, I remember this race.
Yes. Was Fernando Alonso. And it was, obviously, that was like a 2-lap battle.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long, but it was, these are battles that we rarely see, especially in the hybrid era. And we're hoping to see more of this next year when the rules change. But like Wellington said, it was a master class in just defending your position. Obviously, it lasted that long because we were in Hungary, so it's hard to overtake. I don't know how many times. You could play a drinking game right now and saying how many times I've said it's hard to overtake on this track. But it just shows you how good of a racer Fernando Alonso is. And he's won in every category that almost every category that he's joined. And because of his defensive prowess, Ocon was able to keep that win. Not that he didn't deserve it.
No.
But Hamilton was
Credit to
on a
Alonso.
mission
To win the race.
And if the race was a few laps longer, Hamilton would have gotten it. But also,
Or if the fight with Alonso would have been shorted.
yeah. But Alonso also, just speaking on the fight, obviously it took Hamilton a really long time to get past him. and I think this is a credit to both drivers. Alonso mentioned that during the fight, he taught Hamilton better lines to overtake. That's why after he got past him, which eventually was going to be inevitability, he was able to overtake, I think it was Sainz.
Yep.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah, right away. So,
Because as they were fighting, they were also closing the gap to Sainz. They were going.
they were going at it. Yeah, I mean,
metal to,
but it was fun to see the fact that we got it for 10 laps, which is an eternity. And they were side by side, and you thought that Hamilton was going to overtake him, but he actually didn't. And it's just the way Fernando positioned his car. It was just awesome racing, and it would be so great to see like two drivers of that caliber having them battle, every race like that. That would be spectacular, and it would make the show way better.
As a result, Fernando Alonso, driver of the day.
Well deserved.
Where you could see, like, even before that fight, he was like not gonna win it, and then like after that, it was like the percentages were like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then to me, the moment of the race for that, even though it was a great race for him, was him waiting for Esteban Ocon to celebrate with everybody else to be able to give him a bear hug for his accomplishment. That pure class, and you see, it's almost like the teacher passing on the mantle to the student.
I think his time in WEC and obviously in Dakar, where you have to work, you're not the only driver. You have to work with two other drivers. I think that he's brought what he's learned there to the team dynamic in F1, and I think obviously the team is getting better. You have two drivers that are working well with each other, and as a result, you get a first and fifth,
and then now it'll be first and fourth
after the battle penalty. That team looks good, man. I mean, the car is not that great. The car's not there, but it's a 3-year-old chassis. But if you have Fernando Alonso driving at that level, and Ocon, developing as he is developing, I think there's a bright future there. Let's just hope they get it right for next year with the new rules.
You know how sometimes, like, middle of the race, 3/4 into the race, that's when us as watching it, we get like a downturn because the race just pretty much a little bit of lagging in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That back and forth battle was what kept you awake really onto the race because you were just expecting what's going to happen. Are they going to crash? Is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it now? Is he going to, So that
really,
made
Hamilton kind of overtaking the field, kind of kept the race entertaining for all of us.
But he's not Bottas, so we were expecting him. We knew he was going to overtake.
And eventually, what happened there? Obviously,
the tires. Right?
The tires went out, but the deciding factor when Hamilton could overtake Alonso was that Alonso locked up.
Yeah,
so he made a mistake. It was almost like what we were talking about with the Vettel and Ocon battle. In this case, Hamilton was pushing to the point where he forced Alonso into a small mistake. Obviously, his tires were going off. It was really no fault of his own. Once that mistake happened, Hamilton was able to go by him. That's exactly what Vettel was trying to do with Ocon at the front.
Williams, first points. George Russell, emotional. We talked about how he, had to do whatever he had to do at the pits. Nicholas Latifi, Hodor, third place, holding the line there. They end up finishing
8th and 9th.
8th and 9th, potentially 7th and 8th, depending on this disqualification. Great job, right?
Yeah, you weren't expecting that.
No,
you weren't.
Double points finish for
If
Williams.
they whatever finally get their points, you would expect one, it would be George Russell, and two would be one driver. In this case, both drivers finished in the points. Obviously, that's big because now they're in a solid
8th place.
8th place with 10 points. With the nearest team would be Alfa Romeo, and they only have 3.
Dude, that could pretty much win it for them. Do you see Alfa Romeo getting 8 points?
That's the thing. No, that's why it's such a big result for them, and why he got teary-eyed out.
Yeah.
He was crying.
Yeah, after so many.
He didn't think that.
I do want to watch that intro. I didn't see that part.
Yeah, he said it took him by surprise. He didn't think that he was going to tear up. Obviously, it's a big result. after so many like
Near misses.
near misses, and the fact that they were able to get both points, both cars in the points. Obviously, it was 8 before, but now they got 10 points. That's massive for them, and it just shows you that they are improving. It's incrementally, but they are improving. Obviously, they know that things have to happen ahead for them to be in this position, and things did happen again and happen up front, and they were able to capitalize.
On the
Kudos to
opportunities.
them, yeah. And, kudos not only to Russell, but also Latifi, which Latifi hasn't been the most impressive driver, but the fact that he was able to get this result in and actually finish ahead of Russell, good for him, man. That was awesome.
Well, that's what Russell wanted too. He said, "Hey, if you have to sacrifice my race, I'll pit earlier and stuff like that."
Yeah, because he knew that he was ahead. So, at that point where you just want the team to score the points. You don't want it for yourself. You want it for the team. And
Go Russell.
yeah,
Proving once again how great of a teammate he would be to Lewis Hamilton. Unbelievable guy.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Things change when you're fighting for the championship.
Unbelievable.
Things change when you're fighting for the championship, my friend.
What a guy, George.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Change when you're fighting for the championship. Once you're fighting for the championship, all that goes out the window.
AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly was involved in that lap 1, turn 1.
I don't think he hit anybody, but he was just he had to go all the way out. Yeah,
to be able to avoid the whole situation. Yuki Tsunoda affected by Hodor. Nicholas Latifi. Could have been better, should have been better. If it was Pierre Gasly behind Nicholas Latifi, definitely passes him, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Or push him out.
Yeah.
Really good result though, and he got Gasly got the fastest lap too.
Gasly fastest lap. They finished
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th.
Well, 5th and
6th and 7.
Yeah.
Before the penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So, star of the early race. The star of the early race. One M. Schumacher. Familiar first initial and last name, right? A lot of defending up against Max Verstappen, who actually they touched at some point, which I thought was awesome, and I can't wait to see more of that. Hopefully Schumacher gets in a better car.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think of the absolute titanic balls on Mick Schumacher?
That's what you need to stay at the level, man. He's
Crazy.
there already.
showing it. He's showing the
he's
glimpse.
showing it. And
Showing why he was GP2 champ.
Yeah, I mean, what Mick Schumacher has shown is that once he gets the hang of it, he is a consistent driver. Which I don't know if he's the fastest or quickest driver, but he is consistent. And we've seen that consistency, and especially if you're in a decent car, will keep you in F1. Now, I don't know if he's as quick as his father. I don't know if he's as quick as anybody. We got to see that. We got to see him in a better car. But the fact that you have to be consistent and you have to have balls to be in this sport. And the fact that you are going up against one of the top drivers and trying to keep him at bay, and almost did, to be honest with you, shows a lot of promise in his career, and hopefully he just keeps getting better. And, once he keeps getting better, then he'll have other opportunities in better teams.
He has big shoes to fill.
He sure does. Yeah, he sure does. But he's doing great, man.
Poor Nikita Mazepin wiped out in the pit lane.
Who wiped him out?
Was it Giovinazzi, my man?
Yeah.
Oh,
Unsafe
yeah.
release.
My boy.
The Bergamo bullet really
And then
turned
he
into
got
the bullet.
Then he got the penalty for the unsafe release.
Shot a bullet through his tire.
Someone please
through the suspension.
Okay. McLaren, Lando, no good. Daniel Ricciardo, compromised.
How many races he had in the points straight?
If this is race 11, what straight? I don't know.
I think it's like
You
15.
guys got to stop asking me questions, man. Look it up.
No, saying it was like 15.
What are
races.
you talking about?
That Lando Norris was the points. Between the 2 years.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but he's scored points in every race,
Every race
so
this
far.
year. Except this one.
What happened to Ricardo?
Crazy. He had damage.
He had damage. in
Well,
the
I'm
first
asking Ruben.
Oh, the Ricardo
Because he
stand?
was so high on his
half. On the
prospect.
Ricardo train.
Yeah.
So I had my McLaren hat already like inside out to wear
The
it
rally
today.
cap.
Yeah,
Rally
the rally
cap.
cap. And because I didn't want the McLaren name to show because I was so disappointed, but the first lap mayhem saved all of that.
Yeah, I think. I mean, his
Just from
race-
qualifying, I was already disappointed. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't qualify well,
No, he didn't.
and
He was 11th.
yeah, and he's
And he finished 11th.
well. He didn't lose any point, any positions, but he's compromised. Then his car was destroyed. It was another half-eaten.
He actually got off to a really good start and just got involved in the accident, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, that battle for the constructors for third. Let's see. Oh, it's tied.
163,
163. So it got better. Thank you, Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, and Ferrari team, I believe, has more podiums, so they have the tiebreaker.
Bam.
1, 2, 3.
No, they don't.
So
No,
battle
they
for
don't.
first.
It's actually tied.
Yeah.
What's the third tiebreaker then? I don't know. The second tiebreaker.
Battle for first and battle for third, and Alpine. Actually, those are the three battles that we're looking at, right? For the season, we're looking battle for first, battle for third, and then battle for fifth with three teams. We have Alpine, AlphaTauri, and Aston Martin. And then you have a battle for eighth, which Williams took a comfortable lead. But yeah, Alpine with their result this weekend
Made a tremendous jump.
they went from sixth to fifth. I mean, from seventh to fifth actually. So good
Wow,
on
boy.
them.
They just rejoined.
Yeah. So things got interesting. Obviously, in that battle for first, you have Mercedes going ahead of Red Bull. You have McLaren and Ferrari for the battle for third in a close tie. And then we have fifth, sixth, and seventh. Fifth is Alpine with 77 points. Right behind them is 68 points is AlphaTauri. And then Aston Martin with 48.
Still
Yeah,
a battle.
that disqualification is gonna, if it holds up, is gonna be consequential for that team, which sucks. And then you have your team, Williams,
10 points.
10 points,
Better than 0.
commanding lead.
Red Bull, nothing to talk about. Alpha, a bad day at the office for both of them. Unsafe release penalties and
That team seems to be getting worse.
They're super discouraged. All those, both
fish
of those
stinks
guys.
from the head down. No, and this for stuff like that.
So you're saying
Organizational.
They should fire Fred Vasseur.
They got to make some changes.
They will.
So, gentlemen, anything else?
Anything we missed? Yes, from the race.
I think we talked about it all. What do you think, Ruben? Did you find anything interesting in the race?
No, I didn't. I don't think we missed anything. We touched a lot of points today.
Yeah, it was a great race. Once it rains, introduce a little bit of chaos, baby. And honestly, bigger picture, it just made the season even more interesting. You
Yep.
still have Red Bull and Mercedes cat fighting off the track, which will make things more interesting. But obviously, the battle on the track is going to be great. Yeah, we're going to take a break, which is much needed. But we'll be back a week before Spa. Spa is going to be amazing. I love that track, and I love the racing there.
Yep.
Get well to Jack Aiken, who had a huge crash at Spa actually this weekend. Broke his collarbone and vertebrae in the back.
Not a lot of luck at Spa.
That they need to do something with that corner, and obviously we could talk about it more once that race come up. But it's just going into
Coming out of Eau Rouge.
coming out of Eau Rouge, going into Radion. That seems pretty dangerous. It's a lot of crazy crashes, but overall a great weekend in motorsports.
Yes, sir.
We have a break. I don't know what we're gonna do with ourselves for another another.
Hopefully
3
some
weeks?
barbecues.
Yeah, but we're gonna miss F1
Or sleep.
But we're gonna miss it. We're gonna miss it, but it's gonna be a great second half of the season, guys. Let's
Yes,
get ready
sir.
for it.
So as Yhancy mentioned, we'll be out for a couple of weeks. We'll be back right before Spa. You can always find us on Twitter and Instagram at JumpToStartF1. Guys, if you're listening, please make sure to drop a review, subscribe. That is for podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, and Stitcher. If you're on YouTube, hi, drop a comment.
Leaving me hanging.
Drop a comment, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. We love you guys. Have a safe summer break.
Peace.
Peace.